Recently, I just watched a video made by Play on Channel 3 that I feel like I need to disagree. Start off with like what she states is the core message of the show, which is a quote from Optimus Prime, like no amount of good deeds can make up for a bad attitude. I mean, looking at it, it doesn't seem like too bad of a message. Maybe not the best. It because it goes against one of the a more popular message, which is actions speak louder than words. I mean that message hasn't been sent out in the show, but this one doesn't seem like particularly good. However, from this, he somehow extrapolates that you can do heinous actions as long as you're nice. Which what? Does that mean like you can kill as long as you're nice? I I I don't know how she got into this, but then states several examples, two of which I think are pretty bad examples, but we'll get into them right here. So, three examples. The one I think is the best is spending your roommate's money as long as you're sorry. It's the best example that aligns with her her statement. Like the next one, the other two are like denying health insurance on a dying person is okay as long as you're nice. Uh, which I think doesn't really line up with hers because insurance is a tricky thing. All right, it's it's basically an entangled mess to just get into like very quickly off top, and just like mentioning it is not doing it justice. Insurance at the end of the day, insurance, even health insurance, is it's a business. It's a business and a product and a lot of other things. But and you could say that hey, treating health as a commodity doesn't seem very nice. And well, I mean, sorry, but that's just the reality of today. But let's just not get into the weeds of it. But I just think it's a bad example. Like as for her other example is calling the cops on a stranger, fine as long as you're nice to the operator, which I don't think it's not good because it's not a good example because there's like scenarios where hey, what if the person is a criminal or you think they're doing some shady action? But I think the implication that she's trying to insinuate is that the person is completely guilt free. They're just a regular person. The person calling them is just like being malicious, but being nice to the operator in hopes that the innocent bystander is effective negatively, catastrophically. Now that it's kind of like a here or there example. I have to basically take. I had to like unpack it. So I think that's why I think it's a bad example because it could be impacted in several different ways. Now, like going back to like what the core of the message, what she says the core of the message is, like no amount of good deeds can make up for a bad attitude. I think that this is a very bad. Like I don't know how she got to this, but I think it's a very bad, just like extrapolation of that idea. I think a better interpretation would be like a professional courtesy. So like your attitude can detract from like the good you do or like a performance. So say you're like a barista, you make like the best coffee cup in like the best tasting coffee in the world, but like instead of like calling out their name, you say hey that like you say a pejorative or you make them feel insecure or uncomfortable. That's where I think the point of the message is. And well, another like more simple example would be like a donation. Yeah, you donate. Donating is like I believe it's universally good. There's no way like donating something is bad, especially to a person in need. But if you like donate to a person in need with like I don't know, attempt to make them feel bad or like in the process you make them feel uncomfortable. Again, you make them feel uncomfortable. Use pejoratives. You slander their names. Make them make them feel bad. Essentially, that's where like even though objectively you've donated, you've made an objective good, what you've done has like detracted from the good you've made. Genuinely, that's about it. I think that's how the message is meant to be taken. Not really this bit over here. She does like she does work on it a bit more, but it's basically just based on this, which I think is just incorrect. All right, moving on from that. So she believes that well, she states that for this needs a little bit of context. So the reason why Optimus said what he did is because Ratchet, a core member of the Transformers, is being like has a negative attitude right now. Has a negative attitude, but he's always had this negative attitude. He's always been abrasive, grumpy. So then why is it a problem now? Which like I agree that kind of sort of I'll get into it more later. But from this, she gets out that Optimus is just forcing Ratchet to be in an uncomfortable situation for no reason. Which, I mean, yeah, if it's never been a problem and then suddenly it's a problem without any reason, it is like it's a little bit of a cruel just punishment on a whim. However, the serialized show. You see, there have been events beforehand that are kind of affecting their situation right now. I mean, well, first off, you need context where they are right now. They are at a pier loading a barge with trash because the city mayor will not renew a contract with Powell, CEO of Sundax Systems, until he does maintenance on trash can machines. Powell will not do maintenance on the machines until he gets a renewal for his contract. So now they're at a standstill and the city's suffering. And in order to alleviate that suffering, the Autobots are just there trying to help the community, like lighten their burden, trying to collect the trash, put it into a barge, get it into a trash island, or like wherever it goes, and just try to help out, get a good image of them. And you could say like, why are they trying to get a good image? Well, that's because there's been a recent strain in Autobot relationship. Like something has recently happened, such as the end of season 1, the Megatron Rising, literally coming out from Sundax Systems Tower, then him creating several land leveling explosions near and around the city, which I think would give the Autobots a little bit of a bad image. Then also the Autobots themselves, Ultra Magnus and Sentinel, popping in from a spaceship in the middle of the city unannounced, send everyone in a bit of a panic. Slash also the PR disaster that is Sentinel's headmaster fiasco, as well as a return to Starscream and the booby trap he laid on a train. All of these things have kind of like given the Autobots a bad name, like by proxy of being associated with, being giant metal robots and then giant metal robots attacking the city and causing panics. So they're trying to just like mend that like human Autobot relations because them just causing a panic walking around is detrimental to their cause to just being friendly and like trying to preserve life. So the Autobots are trying to mend relationships, getting a good image of them like circled around. But what's not helping? Ratchet's negative attitude. It's affecting their image because no matter what they do, if while doing it they have a negative image of them portrayed, it can negatively affect human and Autobot relations, which they are trying to keep up. So that's why his attitude is now a problem. which means he's not forcing Ratchet to be nice for no reason. The reason is because, well, his negative attitude is affecting their current goal, which is to have our better relations with humans. And then, done with that, the next is this popped up for a little bit, but it's gonna take up a bit more time, and I haven't really laid it out here very well. But it has to do with Rekgar. She essentially states that the whole episode is essentially just an ableist making fun of, like ableism, making fun of Rekgar for being autistic. Which I gotta say, no, Rekgar isn't a stand-in for autism. He has, he may have some some correlations, but I don't think that's what he is meant to represent. I think he's meant to be a blank slate, someone who, and you have to take his origin into account, literally was just born that day, less than less than 12 hours ago. He was not conscious. He is now conscious and has no direction and it's just looking for it, showing us how the second he's offered help by a billboard by the NYPD, or sorry, the Detroit Metro Police, he takes it. He literally, like, oh, you can help. Oh, you're offering help. Of course, I'll go seek it. When he finds the police, they are of no help. He then seeks guidance in the angry archer. That is of little help. And then he sees an Autobot. He's something he seems to resonate with. And in doing so, he announces, I am an Autobot. This does not go well. It does not sit well with Ratchet, who kind of have to realize what he is. He is a war vet. Just got out of a grueling, huge war where he's lost friends, family, the love of his life, which I'm not gonna get into right now, but it's just been torture getting through this, and to him, this is what being an Autobot is. It's going through all these experiences and then pushing past. It shows in his attitude because he can barely tolerate like bots, technically of his rank or like in similar ranks that also got out of the academy. He barely tolerates like a B, Prowl, and Vulcan. Like as new bots, he doesn't think they've gone through what he has, but they still have earned the right to be called Autobots. Now comes in Rekgar, sentient piece of machinery, a just barely sentient piece of machinery, going, I'm an Autobot. To him, it does not sit well. So, does not take very kindly to this and responds in what I would say is poorly by saying, you're not Autobot, you're nothing, you're good for nothing but trash. Rekgar, you could say that, hey, he's like, this is where like the autism representation is. Not really. He's someone desperate for direction, so he takes any direction. He takes the direction given to him. He's not an Autobot. He's good for nothing. The trash. So he spreads it around. Spreads the trash around. And this episode, in retrospect, is like at the time when I first watched it, small, it was funny. Yeah, you could say maybe we are laughing at an ableist person, or maybe I was laughing at an ableist person then. But looking back on it, it's pretty sad. It's tragic because it's essentially what Rekgar is kind of like a protoform, basically someone who looking to be molded or who can be easily molded by the experiences he faces. And sure, his first experience is not good, but like he takes it on the chin and just goes on through it. And then by the end of the episode, you know, Ratchet learns to open up and go, hey, like don't let other people tell you who you are. Be who you want to be. And Redguard at the end of the day just chooses to be what he wants to be, which is an Autobot. Now you could say like, well, why does he want to be an Autobot? Why not a Decepticon? Well, I think it has to do with the Allspark and the knowledge that Sari shared with it. Essentially, it wants to be an Autobot because Autobots are kind of like defaulted as being naturally good, which we can talk about more later in the comments. Whatever, we'll talk about it later. But let's get on to like the next point. The next point she makes, which is also like it's about the season 1 finale. She states that Optimus acts out of character, like for the season 1 finale, just because the writers are making him act out of character, just for the sake of it, to continue the story. Which I have to kind of disagree, because he's not acting out of character, or well, he is acting out of character a bit. He's in character for acting out of character. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to take into account the situation that's going on right now. So, or well, during season 1, part 1, Prowl literally walks in and says, Decepticon signals are amassing. I think they're preparing for an invasion. That is the opening line. And he's not even surprised about that. No, he's always been like kind of like, yes, that's always been a danger. And now, like hearing under words, it have to do what they've always done. Protect the Allspark. That's just like another drop in the mountain of details that's going on here, because there's more to this than just that. Because there's the memory of the attack of Starscream. So like when they first came to Earth, Starscream came and attacked, and in order to halt that attack, it took Optimus Prime's life to halt that. Then there's an attack of unknown origins. That's the Spider Bots. There's Lockdown attacking, taking most of them out. Black Arachne attacking, taking most of the team out. Blitzwing and Lugden attacking. It took literally like the defense of their ship to just push them back. There's Soundwave attacking, which, well, not an Autobot, or well, not a Decepticon, and now at this time thought to be gone. From the Prime's perspective, like Sari's keys just manifested an enemy out of just like regular robots, which is probably very concerning. There's also like the next bit, which I think is kind of the bit that breaks the camel's back, is the Dinobots are alive, and they are now an unknown factor. And the fact that he gains this knowledge is a betrayal of Prime's trust in his team, because he was told by Prowl that the Dinobots were destroyed, and this was after like they already spotted the Dinobots. We never found out what happened to Dinobots, and then they went on to Meltdown's Island and collected Sari, and from this, Prime says that, hey, you told me they were destroyed. They were not. So that's where the betrayal of Prime's trust in his team comes in. Not only that, but also, on top of all this, you have to remember, the Allspark is now in danger. In danger of falling to Decepticon's hands at all times. So now all of this like adds on to the just giant pile of issues that is going on. And so now Prime is stressed. And in this stress, he tries to take command of the situation and secure exploitable weakness by just by issuing commands and securing weaknesses, which we'll talk more about on point 15. But let's go back a bit, because this is not the only thing. It doesn't just say that like Prime is out of character. There's also something else she states. That is that Ratchet has regressed. Now, what does that mean? So, in this episode, while Prime is stressed out, trying to do this, like Ratchet is trying like to calm him down, trying to mitigate the situation a bit. He's acting, not callous and not grumpy, not old, and I think it's pretty natural to know why, because like, the gravity situation is is palpable. They can't just be like a he can't just be like quippy, grumpy Uncle Stan. He needs to he is a soldier at the end of the day. He needs to like assess the situation, and what he is seeing is not good because like Ratchet can kind of tell like what Prime's doing. He's falling back into like his military training. He's like he's trying to treat the team like it's a squad and not what they are assigned as, which is a cleanup crew or like a space bridge cleanup crew. They're not meant they're not meant to be, even though they all went and had they all had military training. They're not stationed as that. They're stationed as a cleanup crew. And so Ratchet sees that he's trying to take command as like as a sergeant or like a military leader, but like he sees that the team is not taking this well. They're receiving it poorly, and he's trying to mitigate the situation. But he ultimately sees the logic in the commands that he's giving and commits to them. What are these commands? Well, to start off with the amassing of Decepticon signals, he feels like they need to defend the spark, so they need to move to their base. But also they need to secure it with as much force as possible. Now, Bulkhead and Prowl did just mention the Dinobots, but in mentioning them, they show that they cannot be trusted with when it comes to dealing with the Dinobots, because it's already been 2 times when they've just let them go and then let them stay and then not told Prime about it. So they need to be supervised while doing this. So he does it personally. Then there's the key. Sorry has shown to be like irresponsible constantly, and especially with like the fact that Soundwave's appearance, which again, by their perspective, is just a regular bot who's just attacked them because it was infused with Sari's key. So she's proven to be responsible with it and a liability when she is targeted for the key. Right? So securing it from her is securing a weakness that has been ready to be exploited for a while. But now that Sari doesn't have the key, she's practically defenseless. So being near her is more dangerous for her. Plus, if they threaten her, she could be a liability for them. So that's why, like, Prime tells Bumblebee not to go after Sari, to just leave her, essentially to like her own devices. This proves to be a little detrimental later on because Black Arachnia still targets her and uses her to find the location of the Autobot ship. But that's I'll talk more about that later in a bit. I believe that all of Prime's actions here they're sound in logic on paper. Yes, all of these are like good tactical things to do, but I think they could have been done a bit better. Specifically, if he had compromised a bit more. Maybe he had been a little, I'm going to say it, nicer about it. So, and what I mean by that? Let's start with the second point here. So yes, Bulkhead and Prowl did show that they can't be trusted with the Decepticons or with the Dino, like with dealing with the Dinobots. But it's Prime's involvement in going with the Dinobots that kind of like that turned the Dinobots really aggressive. I think that if he hadn't gone and he just allowed Bulkhead and Prowl to go, it would have been more likely that would have helped. But who knows? It's also possible that it wouldn't have made a difference. Then there's the third point for Sari, for like removing the key from Sari. That is a good move, but in doing so, they kind of made Sari not an enemy, but they removed her as being an ally for the moment. And I think that they could have avoided that. I think that Prime could have avoided that if he had been more open with her, like kind of like taking the situation a bit more slowly and kind of explain the gravity of the situation. They are in danger, and it's something that comes up in episode 11, season 1, where Ratchet actually does do that. And you can say that again, that's a regression of Ratchet, but no, I think he acts grumpy throughout most of it, but he does open up because because he is always concerned, but it's just the gravity situation is what is like drawing out that concern. And I think that if Prime slowed down and did something similar, you know, like kind of sat her down and explained that, hey, we don't want you to get hurt, and having the key makes her a target, and they couldn't live, none of them could live with her being targeted because of them, or her being hurt because of them, that she would have relinquished the key to them if he had been, you know, if he had just taken that time to explain, you know, and have been kind. So maybe his core meaning of the episode is actually like a lesson Prime himself learned. Maybe, maybe. You know, it's trying to teach Ratchet. But anyways, although I think that they could have relinquished the key from, although I think she would have relinquished the key, she definitely wouldn't have separated. They definitely wouldn't have gotten rid of her. I mean, like, no matter how much you try, because when she wants to be somewhere, she will be there. Like, you can't stop her. Now, finishing with that, we can talk about the last point she made, or next to last point she made. Caught my attention. Like, what? He didn't say that. And that is like that Bulkhead is victim blaming Wasp. Like, he states that Bulkhead believes that Wasp deserved to be in the gulag and have his mind broken. Which, I gotta say, no, he didn't. He did not say that. This is what he said, right? You may not have been a traitor, but you were never a good bot. From this, you can get two statements. You were not a traitor, but you were never a good bot. Also, a little bit of context for this. At this moment in time, Wasp is holding a gun to Bumblebee's head and saying, I was a good bot. You ruined my life for no reason. I was a good bot. I deserve to be a elite guard. You ruined my life. You ruined my life. And he responds with this. Now, you could say that because Wasp is saying he didn't deserve to be put in the gulag, or sorry, in the stockade, that because he's responding with this, you could interpret it that he's maybe saying you deserved it, but still, I don't think so, because the whole episode, again, they're trying to get Sentinel. They're trying to get Sentinel to stop chasing Wasp. That they're trying to tell him that he is not the traitor. Trying to exonerate him by trying to get the real traitor, which is Longarm. Oh, you know, spoilers. But he's also saying that you weren't a good bot, which I think is a bit contestable because, as she states, we don't see much of Wasp, right? And we don't see like the much he does, like a lot he does. She's kind of extrapolating that the only experience Bulkhead had with Wasp is like Wasp being a little mean to him, which I mean it's true. Hell, we don't even see that. We don't see a lot of interaction with Bulkhead and Wasp. But what we do see is Bulkhead and Bumblebee, and even then it's not much. It's shown to be a bit scummy, but not like too bad. It's just like, what is it? It just shows that Wasp is a ladder climber. He only cares about like having good connections, knowing the right people, and like the acclaim of being a elite guard. Whereas if you don't have connection, like him, Bumblebee, he thinks not like knowing you is not good. So I'm just gonna not associate. All right, hold on. The next point is the thing that kind of sent me to make this chart a bit, which is Bulkhead willingly helps Magneto build a space bridge just to prove he's smart, which I feel like I want to see the show she's watching. I really, because I feel like she's living in an alternate reality. Willingly helps Megatron make a space bridge, prove he's smart. What? What? Now, seeing this, I want to introduce you to my friend willingly. Yes, because this is how he willingly convinces Bulkhead um, to work on the space bridge. Yes, that's right. By willingly, she means he used the headmaster unit to threaten cutting his head off and making him watch as he crushes his friends and sort of family, the Autobots, starting with Isaac Sumdac, the person right in front of him, his best friend's dad. There's death and there's fates worse than death. That's pretty close to fate worse than death. I believe. You know? I believe. Now, after this, just like craziness, it is more. It's just essentially just Sentinel propaganda, which let's start off with our first point, which is like Prime can't say that that Sentinel doesn't respect his team because he defended the Jets against Prime, which, kudos to him. He did do that. He did defend the Jets when Prime attacked him. There's no denying that. That said, there is a counterpoint to that, and that said, there is a counterpoint in that Jetfire and Jetstorm are flying Autobots, and Autobots don't typically fly, so it's natural to assume that he's a Decepticon, at a first glance, and that being something naturally you would assume, you would think that, if you're chasing a fugitive into what you would believe to be like Megatron's hideout, you may want to inform the people near Megatron's hideout, on your team, that, hey, you have a team member that can fly that is not a Decepticon, so, hey, don't attack them or get in their way on the capture of Wasp, because they are part of my team and they have a special condition called flight. So kindly don't hurt them. But no, Sentinel is very pig-headed in just like trying to not involve, or not even not involve, but just like trying to get information out of Prime and then give him nothing. Like, for example, he does take the bit of long arm. Like he does listen to Prime talk about like there being another traitor, but then not really taking into account, just going like, yeah, well, anyways, on my way to capture Wasp. But wait, we just said that I don't care, I'm gonna capture Wasp, and then deal with whatever you just said. Also, no information about a person working with me to try to also capture Wasp. A very important person, like a very, to me, important person. And also her saying that it's rich for Ratchet, who groomed a specialty giant robot, to be flabbergasted that there is a flying Autobot. I kind of have to be taken aback by this. So Ratchet had a atypical like partner, right? Omega Supreme is not a typical Autobot. He was built from the ground up during a time of war of great need. Not only that, but flight is seen as an Autobot, as a Decepticon trait. So after the war, you can imagine that there's not many like flying Autobots. There's probably no flying Autobots. I think it's only, at least in the show, it's shown to only be like Megatron's elite is compromised as just flying Decepticons and like anti-elite, but like she's also special. She's like or half organic, and I'm guessing she has a certain use, or she's a certain use case. I'm guessing all of Megatron's elites are a certain use case, and probably one of the things that makes them special is their flight. So flight is typically a Decepticon trait. See where I'm going with this? I feel like I'm just talking in circles, but like essentially, like Sentinel should have been like on like first step saying, "Hey, my like if he respected his team at all, he would he would like every step of the way say, "Hey, I have team members that can fly. They're not Decepticons." Uh, and just oh, nah, I can't keep talking about this. Moving on from there. Also, one of the things that shows that like one of the things that shows that it is true that he does not that Sentinel does not respect his team is actually Jazz, because it's through implication that respect is a two-way street. You respect people, people respect you, and it's shown that Jazz in this episode does not respect Sentinel that much, as he quotes, like he tunes out half of what he says because he's just such an airbag. And it's just shown in later seasons when like Sentinel again does not respect like Sentinel does not respect Jazz's opinion while they're flying their ship back to what is it? Back to Cybertron. And he just disregards it and gets Jetfire and Jetstorm out from their job guarding the prisoners to just ensure that energon levels on their fuel gauges are correct. Either way, uh, I mean, there's also a video she made about talking about Sentinel and Transformers Animated, Sentinels and Transformers Prime, where she says some crazy stuff like Sentinel did nothing wrong in season 3, which like holy, what do you mean? He almost blew up Cybertron like on a whim, going like, oh, it was like blowing up Cybertron was a risk I was willing to take. Jesus, what? That's horrifying. Also, he watched Optimus's, Sentinels, and Ilita one's description on what is it, episode 9, Along Came a Spider. The like flashbacks with Sentinel and Ilita and Prime. She watched that, and seemingly all she took from it was that like Optimus is a sourpuss and Sentinel is a bubbly go lucky guy. That's what? There's so much characterization going on there. That and only taking that is wild to me. Jesus Christ. I mean, I could talk more about it, but my voice is going. I'm getting tired. Uh, Maybe I'll talk about it more in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day.